when the red, red robin goes bop, bop, bopping along, along. There'll be no more sobbing when he starts throbbing his own sweet song. Wake up, you sleepy and get up, get up, get out of bed, cheer up, cheer up. The sun is red, laugh, love, live and be happy. What if I've been blue? I've been walking through fields of flowers. Rain may glisten, but still I listen for eyes and eyes. But I'm just a kid again, doing what I did again, singing a song. When the red, red robin goes bop, bop, bopping along. I'm just a kid again, doing what I did again, singing a song. When the red, red robin goes bop, bop, bopping, red, red robin goes bop, bop, bopping, red, red robin goes bop, bop, bopping along.
Good morning, all of you red, red robins. You got up today. Thank you. You know, the early bird gets the worm. It's kind of gross, but it's true. Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center of Woodstock. We are so glad you are here. Thank you for coming and sharing your beautiful, unique energy with us. My name is Kim Jozwiak, and I will be your platform assistant today. Our guest speaker is actually going to be me. I will, yes, thank you. I will be speaking on the topic of surrender, also known as I Don't Wanna. I'm also the guest speaker today because our dear friend, Reverend Mary Patrice Went, is taking some time. She's on her spring break, and she is spending time with her new grandbaby and her family. So we just bless her time for restoration and healing and just quiet and not doing. So let's step back and kind of get centered and open this time with a prayer. Divine Spirit, always accessible, always near, we thank you for a new day. We thank you for all who have joined us today, whether here in the pews or out there in the World Wide Web, the internet. We thank you for guiding us and leading us into this moment. And we thank you for each one that has used their gifts to create this space, this beautiful place, to listen, to hear, to be strengthened. We know that there are no coincidences, and accept that all that happens is for our good, in the name and through the power of Jesus, the living Christ. Amen. Let's go ahead and begin with our 5 unity principles, the foundation of all that we do here. Together, please. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the good omnipotence. The Christ Spirit lives within me. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. I experience God's presence and power through prayer and meditation. I put my faith into action by demonstration. Here at Unity Spiritual Center of Woodstock, we are all about being more spiritual than religious. And what we mean by that is that we believe that there is a Christ presence in each one of us, available and capable of guiding us on our unique path. We respect all religions and all spiritual practices, and do not discourage anything that would draw you nearer to your own unique path to the God of your understanding. We do not insist on any action or ritual to accomplish the goal of experiencing your divine nature. We just provide the tools that may assist you. At this time, I'd like to introduce our amazing tech team that it runs the sound and the visuals. We have George Mulligano. Thank you. And we have Eve Faze, who is just deliberately and consistently showing up to learn this process. And Joe Jozwiak, my partner and friend, he's also in charge of getting it out to the internet. We also are graced with amazing music here. Every week we have great music, don't we? And today leading us is Ken Johnson. And our guest artist today is Rich Prezioso. Thank you for this experience you're all creating for us. We are so glad you are here.
I hate to see you cry, lying there in that position. There's things you need to hear, so turn off your tears and listen. Pain throws your heart to the ground. Love turns the whole thing around. No, it won't all go the way it should, but I know the heart of life is good. No, it's nothing new. Bad news never had good timing. But then the circle of your friends will defend the silver line. Pain throws your heart to the ground. Love turns the whole thing around. No, it won't all go the way it should, but I know the heart of life is good. Throws your heart to the ground. Love turns the whole thing around. Fear is a friend who's misunderstood, but I know the heart of life is good. I know it's good. It's good, it's good. This is our time to center, to go within. Release our shoulders, relax. Take a deep breath. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Let's just continue to draw near to our inner world, our inner reality. Perhaps we can become curious about our inner world and how our inner parts of us express themselves through our bodies, through our emotions, and through our thoughts. As we look inside, can we soften our gaze? And what I mean by that is, instead of looking for something to change, can we soften our gaze to a gaze of compassion as we invite the parts of us to tell us their stories? Sometimes those stories come out in inexplicable ways. And a lot of times they show up in experiences in our soma, in our experience of our body. So right now, if you will, focus on your head, your crown of your head. What do you notice there? If there's any tension or clenching or resistance, can you ask that part to soften a bit and bathe it with light and love. And perhaps move down your head space, down through your eyes, your cheekbones, your mouth, your jaw. What is your jaw doing? Can you kind of notice? Many of us hold tension in our jaw. Is your tongue glued to the top of your mouth, or can you allow it to just relax? These are all little indicators, parts of you that are speaking. Can we again be curious and compassionate? And just remind our body, it's okay. I'm in a safe space right now. And as we move down to our neck, boy, does our neck do a lot for us. It carries this skull that isn't the lightest thing in our body. It has a lot of weight, actually. And it carries our decision making. A lot of times we indicate our decisions by the nodding and the shaking of our head. We also indicate sorrow with the way our head is positioned on our neck, on our spine. We also indicate fear. And we also indicate pride and exuberance, the way we position our head. So let's just notice, what is it feeling today? Can it relax a little? Can you even soften your shoulders a bit? Because we tend to hold tension there too. And maybe even notice the musculature behind the heart space. Near our wings, I love it's called that, but near our wings, those little points at our shoulder blades. How are they doing today? Can you just give them a blessing? And down our arms to our hands, we do so much with them. Can we be grateful? As the song says, thank you, hands, for your hard work. And as we go down our spine and also to the front of our body, down to our core, our gut, wow, there's a lot that takes place there. When we are calm, we are resting and digesting. When we're not, we are frozen there. We actually stop digestive action. We grip. So how are we doing in the belly area? Can we kind of expand it a little bit? Perhaps even notice the way the breath seems to, when we inhale deeply, soften that belly out. Down to our hips. I don't know about you, but I hold a lot of tension there a lot. And a lot of that has to do with modern life. We just don't get out and walk around enough. So can you soften those glutes and those hips? Maybe even adjust your position in your seat. If you're noticing anything frozen, maybe adjust it a little bit. Allow it to just soften and relax. Down to our legs, our knees, our joints, our feet. Oh, our feet. Boy, do they do a lot for us. They enable us to walk through the world, to stand. Thank you, feet. So I ask you today during this message to pay attention to your body if you can, and note what comes up for you, what thoughts emerge, what emotions emerge as we explore some different principles today. Thank you for being here and taking this time. So take a deep breath and wiggle your toes and wiggle your fingers and come back to this space. Hello. Good work. I do this practice, I try to do this practice every morning to kind of check in. And I've learned to do that over the years because sometimes I have an idea of what I want to accomplish, but something in my body is doing something opposite. Like today, I knew I had to talk. I typically don't feel nervous. I blocked that experience a long, long time ago when I was little. So my body tells me when I'm nervous, and my tummy was telling me this morning, and I walked in and I told some friends, like my tummy is kind of bothered. And then after I told the friends, guess what? It went away. It's so amazing when we share, like some of our concerns, even if they feel silly. I know for me, when I was growing up, I wasn't allowed to be nervous. It wasn't allowed in my family of origin for whatever reasons. I think I took that on, actually. I'm an eldest of 5, and so I had to be a very good example. So you just don't get nervous. Today's talk will be based on the Lenten booklet called 40 Days of Letting Go. And it's produced by Unity Worldwide. I actually picked it up for free. The PDF is for free. I don't know, that was so cool. I was really kind of delighted by that. Well, when I was thinking about what I would talk about, I was talking to Reverend MP, and she's like, maybe you want to base it on that Unity booklet. I'm like, I love that idea. I love kind of having an anchor. Like, what am I going to talk about? And the overarching theme is surrender. And I'm like, oh, I can always talk about surrender because it's always the work I need to do. So that's how I started. And this reading points to the story of Jesus in Gethsemane, which was always a story that brought up some feelings for me growing up. So I titled my talk, I Don't Wanna. And what I hope to show you is that in the middle of our resistance to trusting in the ultimate good, there is always a divine presence that will strengthen, heal, and restore us. Again, what I hope that this message helps you with is there's always resistance. Always. And it's actually one of the processes for transformation. And that, I don't know, got a little more clear for me, and I didn't feel so ashamed about my I don't wanna, because it's actually embedded with who we are as humans. This story about Jesus in Gethsemane is about a final testing ground. As many of you know, Jesus went through a series of tests, and this one is the final one. It is an opportunity to make a choice between living out of a reactive, patterned fear response or trusting in higher love, our essence of true self. Again, it's an actual choice which we all always have to make. Will I choose fear? Because that is my patterned response. I learned how to react to fear the moment I was born. Or do I begin to start the process of trusting that there is a higher good, that I am loved, that I am love? As many of you know, while studying the Enneagram with me, Enneagram, 9 points. Ennea means 9. There's 9 points of a manifestation of personality, but I'm not going to go into all of that. You're probably glad about that. Our personality is a structure that we mostly and unconsciously live from. This personality is created by the time we are 7. What? Yeah. We kind of figure it out by the time we're 7 on how to be in the world. Is that amazing? Like, we make these vows and choices at by that age. Like, I know exactly what I need to do to get the love I need, to get the acceptance I need, and to belong. We have a tendency, kind of a way of seeing things that are bound by this proclivity. Other words, the habits we form out of that created personality. Our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are run by this personality, this thing we created. And sometimes they are 7 years old. So these habitual parts of our personality mean well. The 7-year-old part of myself really is meaning well. It wants to protect me. It said, you don't show nervousness, because when you show nervousness, something happens that you don't like. So, and it's a real young way of seeing things. But as I grow up, that doesn't disappear. It actually becomes embedded in the way I view the world. So they're truly these survival structures. You've all heard of fight, flight, freeze, and the newer one called fawning. Fawning is actually codependence or appeasement. It's another strategy that says, I'm gonna look really good on the outside so you'll love me. I have a whole game going on behind the scenes here, but you're not gonna get to see that, because I want you to like me and accept me, though I am breaking all the rules behind me. I was a professional, that by the way. So the survival structure controls our felt sense of well-being. It actually, we do the things that make us feel safe. And so you have a different way of doing things that make you feel safe. I have a different way of making me feel safe. Sometimes those two things are at odds as we look at the political environment, right? One side does things to make them feel safe, the other side does things to make them feel safe, and there's this weird dualistic dynamic that happens, which is actually also embedded in the transformational process, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So, this personality is not some airy-fairy concept. It's actually in my central nervous system. It runs down my spine, it branches out to all my organs, it is constantly communicating to the brain up here, to the brain in my gut. And it is always taking in information, particularly called the implicit, meaning the things without words. We are always scanning our environment, we're scanning people's facial expressions, we watch the news, bam, 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 we are flooded with fear, anxiety. There's stories of war, there's stories and stories and stories, and our central nervous system acts as if it is happening right now to me. So I proceed as if. Thoughts in kind, what do? They produce in kind. The thoughts in mind produce in kind. Is that how it goes? Thoughts in mind produce, yeah. So these thoughts become manifestations, and sometimes those manifestations can look like a tension in the back, a feeling in the gut, a sharp word to a loved one. Our central nervous system transmits and receives to you and you and you and you and you and the internet. We are a collective species. Our thoughts actually don't just matter to us, they matter to everybody. They matter to the world, right? So we are transmitting and receiving all the time. In the womb, we've already started to do that. So we're these little babies in the womb. We are protected. We are getting all our needs met. But every once in a while, we'll get a hit of some chemical because mama is going through something. Maybe mama's environment is poverty. Can you imagine what it does to that little baby? Maybe mama's environment is real violent. Maybe mama's environment is depression, anxiety. So it matters. And it's like we are swimming in a sea of all of it. So our DNA is coded with generational information. Generation after generation after generation. Oh, and by the way, congratulations, you made it. You weren't killed off by disease, you weren't killed off by war, you are sitting here, and DNA-wise, you're a survivor, my goodness. Pat yourself on the back. That's what we do. We survive. And so this DNA is encoded with, you gotta remember this, you gotta remember that. Yeah, don't touch the fire, it will burn you, right? But it gets more complex because we also are encoded with the traumas of the past. It's called legacy burdens. We carry these legacies into our present moment. So you think about, like I'm half Mexican. I don't know if you can actually do 50-50. we always say half, but I think I'm even more than half. So Mexican meaning I'm a mix of indigenous and Spanish people. And Spanish people are also a mix from Europe. But my people have undergone a lot. And so by the time we ended up in California, there was already a ton of trauma. There was drinking, there was molestation because there were power differences, there was poverty, there was loss of land. I have great-great-grandparents that actually, they had land in Arizona and then they lost it because they weren't deemed like able to hold on to title. And it was like there was just stressor after stressor after stressor, and by the time I came along, I took some of my mom's DNA, my dad's DNA, which he has a whole host of trauma. And so you end up, doing the best you can with what you got. That's what Joe and I always say. So I learned about 14 years ago that my body wasn't doing well. I was chronically in pain. I had wrenched my back at one point with planting a tree on Mother's Day. And I was in shape, I was a runner, but I was all stiff and I was not flexible. And so a hospital stay, then worked with a PT person who said I needed to start working on my core. And so I decided I'd start doing yoga. And that was actually about 20 plus years ago. So it started there. So I had this kind of sensitivity to holding the world on my shoulders. About 14 years ago, I'm doing my yoga and it's not working. I've got a lot of lower back pain to the point where I can hardly even stand up straight. So I go to this lovely Chinese chiropractor and she's like, girl, whew. I'm like, I know, right? And she goes, you're carrying a lot. I'm like, I know. And so she started helping me adjust. She was giving me some PT, helping me expand this space. And at the same time, I was in therapy. And what was happening was I was getting triggered with a ton of stuff that was coming up in therapy. And I was seeing an EMDR therapist. And EMDR is this protocol that helps heal the neural pathways that hold on to the learnings from trauma. Meaning, when we're traumatized, trauma, another word for being overwhelmed. And it doesn't have to be what we call big T trauma. It can be when I'm little and the world is big and I can't deal. So I'm gonna hold on to that learning, put it somewhere, and it's going to inform me the rest of my life until I deal with it. So stuff was coming up, and the biggest one that came up was when my husband and I had returned from a 24-hour trip. We had flown to Nevada to pick up our new puppy. She was actually 4 years old, Maya. And it was my sister's dog. She needed a new home, and we're like, we'll do it. She's so cute. She's 10 years old at the time, 10 pounds at the time. She's 4 years old. And so coming home, I introduced Maya to our 95-pound chocolate lab, who was a beast. He was just a beast, but he was dumb. He was as dumb as a box of rocks. And so I'm like, they'll get along, they'll be fine. And so they played outside. It seemed like it was going well. Joe and I were both sleep deprived, hadn't even had breakfast, probably had coffee, but we were both out of it. I take both dogs into the house on the leash, and before I know it, in a flash, Augie, the huge dog, growls and snaps at Maya and catches her eye with his sharp canine tooth. She starts screaming like I've never heard an animal scream. I grab her, pick her up, and she's bleeding from that eye. And I am stunned, frozen, moving into action, freaking out. And I'm like, what do we do? So Joe and I start calling. We take her to an emergency. They're like, she has to go to an eye specialist. And we're like, what? There are eye specialists for dogs? We didn't even know. So we go to an eye specialist, and they're like, her retina's detached. She's going to be blind in that eye. She is blind in that eye. And I react in a way that was too big for the moment. It was like all of a sudden I had a sinking feeling that I was this horrible human being, and that I wept for 3 days. I couldn't stop crying. I'm like, what is wrong with me? I call my EMDR therapist. I'm like, something is happening, and I feel like I should not live anymore. And she's like, come on in. And so we go in and we start to do the EMDR protocol. And what I find is that process was an invitation to open up a whole neural network of early childhood trauma for me. The first one, and the one that really was the kind of the linchpin, was that I was responsible, being eldest of 5, I was responsible for all our animals. So about 8 or 9, I was responsible for training our puppy, she was a German Shepherd, and I was responsible for making sure our rabbits were safe. We lived in California. We had a whole thing of rabbits, those big lop-ear kind that get to be like 20 pounds. They were amazing. Well, one of them had babies. So I think they were visiting each other, and you know how rabbits do things. And so we had babies, and so I would go over there and play with them, and then we also had chickens, and the chickens were over here, and we lived in Anaheim, California. Get this, my dad's trying to like build a farm in the middle of Anaheim, California. Anyway, so I was in charge. I was very, very responsible. Man, I was overly responsible. So one day morning, I'm going out to feed the bunnies and the chickens, and I come across 4 beheaded baby bunnies, and I collapsed, because in that moment I knew I did something wrong. I must have accidentally left something open. And I tell you the truth, I blank out kind of from that moment to the rest, because I don't quite remember what happened. I do know that my parents did help with that, but that message to me was, I had better be responsible, or innocent people, innocent animals are going to get hurt. So I made a vow in that moment to never allow injury. So I spent my life kind of denying injury, denying pain. Oh, no, we're not going to be in pain here. Let's do something. Do you need something? I will help you. I'll learn about that. I'll learn about that and help you, and I'll help me. And I became like this little learner. Like I was a teacher's pet, because I was certain you had to learn everything you needed to learn. And I took everything very seriously. Like, oh, okay, I don't want to make Jesus sad, so I will do this, this, and that. And I took on the responsibility of even being a good Christian girl at that age. That's too young to take on that kind of responsibility. And so I found that out in my EMDR session. I was like, holy mother of God, what is going on here? And so what happened was, as I started to identify, focus, flesh out that story to a witness who was my therapist, healing started to take place. And I started to realize that I was just a little girl, that it wasn't my responsibility, and that things happen, bad things happen, and that I am very capable to keeping myself relatively safe and others relatively safe. And so there was a lot of healing with that. So I'm going to switch gears. Don't you hate that? I'm going to explore the story of Jesus in Gethsemane. There are some parallels here to our process of this kind of healing. I'm going to read the story, and this is the story in Mark. There's actually 3 versions. And also, too, I wanted to do this whole thing about the law of 3, but we would have been here for about 5 hours. So Joe helped me cut it all down. But there are a lot of indications for the number 3, and I want you to hold on to that and just kind of notice. So this story is told 3 different times in 3 Gospels, but we're going to choose Mark's. Then they came to a place whose name is Gethsemane, and Jesus says to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." He takes with him Peter, James, and John, and he began to be deeply distressed and troubled. And he tells them, "My soul is deeply grieved, even to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch." Going a little further, he fell to the ground and began praying that if possible, this hour might pass him by. And he was saying, "Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Take this cup from me, Yet not what I will, but what you will. Then he comes and he finds them sleeping, and he tells Peter, Simon, you're asleep? Couldn't you keep watch for 1 hour? Keep watching and praying so that you do not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Again, he went away and prayed, saying the same words, and again he came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were very heavy. They didn't know what to answer him. And he comes the third time and he says to them, are you still sleeping and taking your rest? Enough, the hour has come. Look, the Son of Man is being delivered into the hands of sinners. Get up, let's go. Look, my betrayer is near. There's a lot happening in the story. When I used to hear this story, I was like, I don't want to be like the disciples. I don't want to fall asleep. I don't want to disappoint Jesus. But today I read the story a little differently. I don't think it's about that. And I don't think Jesus gets disappointed. Not metaphysically. Metaphysically, Jesus is the Christ. It's the everlasting Christ. It's the consciousness, the higher consciousness. So Jesus is experiencing severe stress to the point of what feels like death. His humanity is. Jesus is the human, the humanity, the all of us. And he's very authentic in his experience. He's actually a pattern on how to deal with exhausting and awful stress. He reaches out to his community and he says, come with me. I can't be alone in this. That's a great pattern to live by. He also reaches out to his connection to the God of his understanding. And Jesus, our master teacher, shows us the way that we are actually always connected to the Abba, the daddy, the personal, the intimate part of us that leads us, that's connected to source. So this story is a 3-step process for healing and transformation of trauma. The first invitation is, come with me and watch so that you may bear witness. My first invitation, though I had many others up to this point, was, I can't contain this experience anymore. My dog just got injured and it's my fault. That was the invitation. That was the first step. So in each of us, there's this inner witness, and it's also known as the Holy Spirit, by the way, in the biblical literature. However, when we are triggered and we have parts of us that can't quite deal with the overwhelm of the feeling at the moment, they go to sleep. And they go into kind of, their eyelids get heavy. They are really unable to process what's going on, because remember, we're dealing with a personality that was formed when we were really young. So there are parts of us that when we're traumatized go to a survival mechanism: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So the symbolism in the story is that Jesus goes 3 times. He prays 3 times and he goes 3 times. And what I find that is interesting is 3, the law of 3, is also called the creation of worlds. It's a creation process. So Jesus, also known as Christ consciousness, comes to us always creating something new. So even though we fall asleep, there are moments when we are invited to wake up. And then we fall back to sleep, and then we're invited to wake up again. And it's not from a negative source. It's actually from a creative energy that won't leave us alone. I'd say it's pretty persistent, actually. And that's why you're all sitting here. You're sitting here in this seat because you were able to get up this morning and wake up, and you were able to show up, and that's because over your entire lives, you have moments that goes, wake up, sleeper, rise and shine. Come on, sweetie, time to get up, time to face the day. I like to think about it that way instead of like making it a negative experience and how I thought. Because I mean, I think maybe that's what I would have, like as humans with children, you know, a parent trying to wake up the child and has to go back there a third time, like, come on, we're late. We embed that. We embed that as humans. And so we learn to wake up when we're told to wake up. But metaphysically speaking, we don't. We fall asleep for many reasons. So the omniscient inner Christ mind does not give up on us. Love keeps showing up. Sometimes it whispers in the darkest hour, declaring, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a hope and a future," as found in Jeremiah 29:11. So the first stage of transformation is invitation. The second stage of transformation is denial, actually. When we see this, we don't want this cup. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want the pain that it's causing me. I don't like the way it feels in my body. Like in my experience that led me to the chiropractor and the therapist, I was denying my inner unprocessed difficult experiences. I felt compressed and rigid. However, I was being prepared for the third and final part of transformation, which is surrender. As I was working with this therapist, she helped me map out my core negative belief. And at that time, I felt entirely responsible for the suffering of my dog, and therefore that translated I was a really bad human being. The root of that belief was created during that horrible experience of finding my baby bunnies. So when it happened with my dog, and it was interesting, it was two dogs, right? There were two parties at play. There was the older but bigger dog, and then there was the more innocent little Maya. And it somehow led me on the path of healing that young part that also witnessed the big dog hurting the little bunnies. It's just amazing to me how that happens. It's like we're constantly getting an opportunity to revisit those old wounds by things that happen in our lives that mimic that. So the story of Gethsemane powerfully shows the divine persistence to invite us to healing and transformation. At the end of the story, Jesus surrenders to a higher and trusted authority than his own patterned ego. The last and third step in this process of transforming our traumas is surrender, which gives way to a fourth phase, which we will find out more about on Easter morning. But we have to surrender before the arising. We have to die in order to be resurrected. And when we die to the old self, or when we put to rest the ego patterned ideals, we're able to transform it over time to this beautiful new being, to this beautiful new way of seeing things. This story represents the spiritual awakening process for us humans. And as you probably know, staying awake is really hard work. It really is. Not any of us, for any of us. It's a global epidemic. We all have heavy eyelids. So what do we do about that? We do what we do every day. We all have these tools that help us transform from sleepiness to being awake. Some of you do have meditation practices. Some of you do have prayer practices, yoga practices. Keep it up. Those are the tools that help us aliven and wake and heal. What I find amazing when I look back at this scripture with this more metaphysical lens is it's right there. It's the story of us, the story of our transformation, of coming from unconsciousness to consciousness. And that story of us, the Word became flesh and lived among us, is us with you, with each other. We're all that too for each other. We are all providing opportunities for all of us to heal. And sometimes it's not easy. What do they say? Sometimes the people that we don't like in our lives are actually our best teachers. They bring up the pain that was already there. If I have a discomfort because of something someone does or says, it was already there. And that person, given their unique ability to flesh that out in me, I can work to listen to that. So I belong to a 12-step process, a practice. And what I've learned that the path of consistent, joyful meaning and serenity is summed up in the first 3 steps of the 12 steps of recovery. And basically, the first 3 steps go like this. I can't, in my own egoic personality, I can't do it, but somebody can, and that somebody is the God of my own understanding. And so the 3rd step is I will surrender to that power. And I will allow that power to transmute this pain and trauma. When you find yourself believing in something that is breaking your heart, remember that Spirit can and will give you the power that will help you through it. You will be shown the next step. We always are. And you are always going to be divinely strengthened to do the thing you are called to do. So in those moments of I don't wanna, take a deep breath and listen to your body. Where is it that's resisting? And maybe calm your nervous system and be curious and compassionate to that resistance. Call it forth and say, it's okay. I'll wake you up again if you need to sleep right now. So the process of surrender, I'm going to read for you, and this is the last bit of my talk, but I'm going to read from you from that little booklet. The process of surrender. As Jesus walked to Gethsemane with the disciples, he was increasingly in anguish and agitation. He said, Abba, Father, for you all things are possible. Remove this cup from me, yet not what I want, but what you want. This indicates that during this entire time, he was surrendering his finite will over to the care of God. Jesus demonstrated surrender is a process. We continue to this divine process of becoming. We surrender our thoughts, limitations, burdens, and lives over to the tender, loving care of an infinite presence. In order to surrender, we are invited to look deeply within. We say yes to embracing the process of surrender. Understanding it strengthens our spiritual muscle. As we participate in the art of surrender, we can clearly listen to an expansive inner intelligence. This binds us to all there is, and we are free to soar. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. This was from Reverend Edith Washington Woods. Thank you.
At the request of our speaker. When I look into your eyes, it's like watching the night skies or a beautiful sunrise. There's so much they hold, and just like them old stars, I can see that you've come so far to be right where you are. How old is your soul? I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up. When you're needing your space to do some navigating, I'll be here patiently waiting to see what you find. 'Cause even the stars, they burn, some even fall to the earth. We got a lot to learn. God knows we're worth it. No, I won't give up. I don't want to be someone who walks away so easily. I'm here to stay and make the difference I can make. Our differences, they do a lot to teach us how to use the tools and gifts we got. Yeah, we got a lot at stake. And in the end, you're still my friend. At least we did intend for us to work. We didn't break, we didn't burn. We had to learn how to bend without the world caving in. I had to learn what I got, what I'm not, and who I am. I won't give up on us, even if the sky gets rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up. I'm still looking up. No, I won't give up on us. God knows I'm tough enough. We got a lot to learn. God knows we're worth it. I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up.
Wow. I just love that song. I do. Those words just run deep within me because I just feel like there's a force that just doesn't give up on us and that really sees the good always and is always inviting me to do the same. Just one more thing. I, eventually did work on a ton of my trauma, and, that was the beginning of unfolding something incredibly amazing for me. I would later take that healing and really feel a calling to do something similar for others. And I became a therapist, EMDR trained, and also other trained in other modalities. But, sometimes the hard parts of our lives gets transmuted into this beautiful gift to the world. And then I just love my animals. They're always showing me the way, and they're always helping me heal some young wounds that I had carried. And so I know all of you, and I know a lot of your, I don't know all of you, but I know all of you have stories that have really brought you to this day in this beautiful way of the way you shine your gifts. So thank you. And so now I'm going to shift gears, and this is the part of our service where we collect donations and tithes. So if you would like to go ahead, and if you brought your donation or tithe with you, to hold it in your hands. And those online, there is a link on our website, and actually on the front of our Facebook page, where you can go and donate or tithe. So here at Unity Spiritual Center of Woodstock, we are self-supporting. All your donations go directly to the classes we support, the events, this building, all of these abilities, all these tools to help people. If you are in the sanctuary, please take your gift out. And those online, hold your gift to your heart, and we will acknowledge these blessings with a short prayer. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. For those of you in the sanctuary, there are greeters, I think, right? Do we have greeters? Oh, good. I got scared a little bit for a second there. I'm like, I'm not seeing any movement. The greeters will come down the aisle and gratefully accept your gift at this time. Oh, yeah. Join us on Route 66. For these gifts and all of you givers, we say together, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. Unity Center of Woodstock is a ministry based in prayer. You can fill out a prayer request form at our prayer station, which is right here. Your request will be prayed over for 30 days by our prayer team, and then another 30 by Silent Unity. Or can we meet with a prayer chaplain today? Yay, Jackie is in the house. If you want some live, on-the-spot, powerful prayer, go to Jackie today. For upcoming events, you can check our calendar at our website, Woodstock.org, unitywoodstock.org, and also our Facebook page usually has events that are telling you what's going on. So, what we have going on, we had a lot going on all the time. This is a fun place. We have our Christ Mind study group. If you want more information, we have several people that will let you know what that is, but I don't know who knows. You can just check in with Rena. I think she's in the house. We have our new outreach event happening, World Peace Day, meeting April 17th at 7 p.m. on Zoom. Oh, World Peace Day meeting event. So the meeting's going to help. We're trying to get this thing going. It's a organizational meeting. New membership meeting is on April 16th following the service. A church survey was sent out. I hope you guys got it and filled it out. It's due April 1st. There are also upcoming board elections, meaning we have some spaces that need to be filled. It is a fun process. Be part of our board. And then we have a wonderful hospitality leader. Thank you so much. We also need helpers. So if you would like to help with hospitality, speak with our lovely Nikki, who has taken on this role. We again have a tech team opening. We're in need of more people that will be involved in helping with the audio and visual process during services. And also, too, if you know anybody, like if you have friends with even young people that have like a kind of a musical audio knowing, put some feelers out, because we really would love to help even train somebody at the audio board. But it is fairly complex, and it would be nice to have someone who has a passion for that. We have a choir call for all, meaning all of you can join the choir for our Easter service. Talk to Lori Mulligano right over here. And our Fun and Fellowship for Females, lunch with the ladies at Oliver's Bar and Grill in Woodstock on April 16th after the service. And there's always something going. So, and if you want weekly information too, you can actually get it sent to your email at info@unitywoodstock.org. So if you go on our website, you can submit to get our weekly newsletters. All right, so that brings us to our prayer for protection and our peace song. So if you would all stand together, please, and join me in the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And so it is. Amen.
2, 2, 3. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator. Family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Yeah.